All right.
Okay, go ahead and say something. I want to make sure.
Hello?
Okay, you're being picked up.
All right.
All right. So, let me break out the... okay, where is it? Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yesterday. It's not showing me. Okay, I gotta readjust everything here. Alright. I've got the entire message in my sights. Let me make it a little bigger so I ain't gotta scroll.
Actually, one thing I wanted to ask, is your friend around by chance?
He's right here.
Sweet. That'll actually help to clear some things up too then.
Say hello, Rob.
Hello.
Hello. Was Rob present for our entire first conversation?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, he was here during our entire first conversation.
Alright, just checking. And he could hear any time that I spoke.
I had the volume up so I could hear you all over the house. I was walking all over the house.
Alright.
I gotta readjust my camera. So, what you hear, you're gonna see from me. Hopefully, if my camera will stay put. Okay, that's better. Alright, go ahead.
Alright, so I guess we'll start at the beginning. First you say, I've unblocked you, why, I really don't know. My friend was not here during our last conversation. If he had been, he'd have told you the same thing, that you're lying through your teeth. Which I'm guessing was in reference to what I was saying about the amount of time I was allowed to talk during our first discussion. Am I correct?
Does that sound pretty reasonable to you, Rob?
Am I in on this?
Well, I could use your help. You were here.
Well, please repeat that again.
Please repeat what you said.
Alright, it says, my friend was not here during our last conversation. If he had been, he'd have told you the same thing, that you're lying through your teeth. And I'm guessing that statement that you typed was in reference to what we talked about when Rob wasn't there, about our conversation when he was there. I was, in my personal opinion, I had felt that you had done the vast majority of the talking during that first hour or so long discussion. And so that was actually why I was asking if Rob was there now, because if he was there for the entire discussion, our first one, and recalls it even vaguely, I think that he would have to agree that you did do most of the talking during that conversation.
You mean
So,
who?
Meaning me. He is stating that I made most of the conversation.
You did a lot of it because you were explaining to him about your life.
Right. Yeah, you wanted to know me, you wanted to understand my quote-unquote problem, so I was trying to give you a better background of me.
But in
Right.
context of...
Yeah, and I'm not arguing with that. I totally agree. That's what I was saying in our second conversation, is that during that hour-long discussion that we were having, my basic point was that you had done most of the talking.
And that's why I told him, or told you, and told him that allow him to talk some more.
Yeah.
And because I wanted him to have a say, because you were doing a lot of talking about yourself.
Right.
And that's why I said, told you, let him talk.
Well, I did my best. I mean, he was asking me questions, so I did my best to take my breaks away from me, and then made sure he was, understanding what I was saying.
I wanted to make sure he had a chance to say something.
Yeah, I realized that too.
So your friend confirming that I was lying through my teeth about that then would actually be a false statement.
No, because you claimed in our last encounter that I didn't let you get a word in edgewise.
Well, I had acknowledged it towards the last probably 10 minutes or so when we went from hearing about, getting the background on why you feel about things the way you do, when we actually started to really back and forth, that you did allow me somewhat of a chance to talk. And that was about the time that your friend said, hey, let him talk for a second.
No.
He wanted to hear what I had to say.
No, this was...
No. You never recorded the message.
I allowed you to speak several times after I interrupted myself. I allowed you some leeway to speak.
I said things from time to time. I made little comments here and there, either to let you know that I was listening, or like I said before when I made the one flew over the cuckoo's nest comment, to show that I was understanding what you were telling me. But I wouldn't say still at that point that it was a full-on 50-50
No,
contribution.
I would never make that claim.
All right, so yeah, that was pretty much the point I was trying to make. So, in you saying that if your friend had been there, that he would have said I was lying through my teeth.
If he'd have been here with that attitude you were coming over with me, and the facts that you were actually accusing me of not letting you speak, just a word in edgewise, that was your exact description of it. And then you continued to accuse me again, just like you did in the first encounter, that I was drawing you into circular debate. I told you from the get-go, before we even started any voice or any conversation at all, even with the text, that I am not into debate or arguing. I discuss things that are real, about myself, and things that I know of that are fact. Okay?
Right.
I'm not the kind of person who runs off the mouth with a bunch of different things that nobody can identify with. I try and speak in a sense that people can paint a picture of me to get a better understanding of the kind of person that I am.
All right.
I try and keep the hyperbole. I keep the hyperbole out of it. I stay direct as much as I can, and so
right.
I do admit I do put a lot of emotion into my speech, because that's just the way I am.
You get very emotional.
Because
All right. No, yeah, that's understandable. I've recognized that through your videos as well. You like to put your heart into what you're saying. You don't want to just sound like a
I like to
windbag.
put everything into what I'm saying, and what, like you said, I'm glad you realize that my videos are a work of art, not just some shit I'm throwing out there. I take great pride in what I do in those videos. As primitive as they may seem, and as dull as they may seem, I still take a lot of pride in what I do.
Oh yeah, I definitely got that. So I guess to clarify then, or so that you have a better understanding of where I was coming from during our first conversation, there was a point where you started to mention, or you had made a statement, and I could be wrong, it just came off sounding to me as though you were stating it as a fact of something that you knew for sure, and it was about Peter's backing or Peter's funding for the things that he does.
Well,
and
that is just, I don't know exactly. All I'm telling you is from my own personal experience in dealing with people and business relationships.
Right.
that there has to be some type of financial backing for any nonprofit or not-for-profit venture.
Right, and that's
all I was saying. That's all I was saying. I don't have a clue. I mean, that's just supposition on my behalf. An educated supposition, because I happen to know a little bit, like I said, I know a little bit about business, and I know a little bit about the so-called nonprofit and not-for-profit ventures. I've dealt with them before, so I know a great deal of the inner workings of these kind of things. I don't know all the details, but I do know enough to say, hey, yeah, it could be this or it could be that.
All right, and yeah, I totally agree with you on that. In order to do anything, you got to have money to do it, whether it's for profit, not for profit, whatever you want to classify it as. That's the way it works. But what I was saying is that I don't know for a fact what Peter does, where his funding comes from, and that was where I was segueing into that. It didn't really. I guess I wasn't seeing the point of how that tied into what you were talking about, and what I was saying was that it didn't really matter to me. Like, it's not really when you look at the information that he's trying to get out there, it doesn't make a difference to me where his funding is coming from or who's back. Even if it was the worst of the worst person on the planet backing him funding wise, the information is still, I feel, of a good nature and is important information. So as someone said to me one time too, not to digress, but someone said if Jacques Fresco had been a kingpin drug dealer in the 1980s or something like that, but he's not doing that anymore, and he's doing what he's doing now, that it wouldn't make a difference to them if he was putting his drug earnings into spreading information about how things could possibly change in a better direction. And I could kind of see where he was coming from on that. I mean, different people would feel different ways about his past as a drug dealer if that were the case, but we've all made mistakes. We've all got, our moments that we aren't the most proud of, and I personally could see looking past his past things when you look at the altruism of what he's working on today.
I agree with you 100%, but it's not something to be easily overlooked with me. I like to know a little bit about everything that I can. I know the inner workings of business. I know the underhanded things that go on, or the seemingly underhanded things that go on, and
that still remains to be seen too. I mean, Peter could be a shiesty piece of shit for all any of us know.
I thought, I admit I've thought that very same thing from time to time, but I don't hold on to it. I don't dwell on it. It's always in the back of my mind that this whole zeitgeist movement thing is just something of I wouldn't say a fraud, but it's just a gimmick. Okay,
right.
I don't want to go into that because I don't like thinking like that. Because
like to
let me try and explain something to you, please.
All right.
I know the zeitgeist movement is the activist arm of the Venus Project. I'll give them that. Okay, but there's something else that's been building, not simply inside of my head, but something that's actually happening in the zeitgeist movement itself. And I'm sure you're aware of it. I'm sure you're aware of all the garbage that's in the forums.
Oh, I stay away from the forums for that very fact.
But it also transcends to a lot of different people out there right at this moment, or maybe not at this moment, but at least, especially not in our country, in the United States, but